It is very obvious that this Ekiti magistrate that is working on the Dele Farotimi case versus Afe Babalola case is working for Afe Babalola, because how do you explain these very stringent conditions, these very stringent bail conditions that was given to Dele Farotimi? In my previous video, I expressed how, the magistrate said that even after the 30 million naira bail, Dele Farotimi is not supposed to address the press, is not supposed to say anything in the media, is not supposed to entertain any interview, is not supposed to express his mind, which means that these people are afraid that he might start spilling evidences that is in his hands. He might start saying some things. He might start, spilling some very, very important details, and they do not want that. They do not want him to spill evidence of why he said Baba Afe Babalola is the one that started bribing judges in his favor. You all, before we delve right into the details of today's news, if this is your first time here or you have not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe, like this video, also leave your opinions in the comment section below. Let's exchange opinions and ideas over there. Ekiti State Magistrate Court under fire over oppressive bail terms imposed on Dele Farotimi. Human rights activist Comrade Ufezeme Nelson Ubi has condemned in strongest terms the obnoxious and oppressive 30 million naira bail terms imposed on human rights lawyers Dele Farotimi by the Kangaroo Ekiti Magistrate Court. Ubi lamented the court, describing the bail terms imposed on Farotimi on Friday as a flagrant violation of justice and a dangerous step towards the erosion of democracy in Nigeria. The magistrate's court on Friday granted Farotimi an exorbitant 30 million naira bail with two sureties, one whom must be a property owner. The court also compelled Farotimi to surrender his passport and prohibited him from granting media interviews. Reacting to the stringent oppressive bail conditions, Ubi said that the bail terms are not just harsh, but a calculated plot to suppress dissent, silence a voice for justice, and intimidate those who dare to challenge a corrupt system. What these people do not know is that even if Dele Farotimi is not able to speak, there are a lot of activists that are already putting themselves together, planning protests, planning how to come together, unify themselves in one voice, to speak against this injustice that is being melted out to Dele Farotimi. They do not know that even if Dele Farotimi cannot speak, there are millions of voices, millions of Nigerians who will speak for him and who will speak on his behalf. They do not know. In fact, already I have a report saying that activists in Nigeria are already coming together, putting themselves together just purely for Dele Farotimi, and it will shock them, despite the fact that they said it should not, grant any interview. It will shock them. It will shock them. Moving on, it said bail is a constitutional right designed to ensure that an accused person remains free while awaiting trial. It is meant to prevent unjust imprisonment and allow for the continuation of normal life. However, in the case of Comrade Dele Farotimi, the court has weaponized bail as a means of political repression. These conditions betray the core principles of fairness and equity that should define the judiciary in a democratic society. The imposition of a 30 million naira bond is not just excessive, it is a blatant attempt to cripple Comrade Farotimi financially. In a country where the majority of its citizens live in poverty, this bond is a deliberate barrier to justice. It is an attempt to create a financial gulf between the political elite and the oppressed masses, a move that effectively turns justice into a commodity only accessible to the wealthy, as in, Dele Farotimi is not a politician. Where do they expect him to have gotten that kind of amount from? If Peter Obi hadn't, step up to say that he's going to take the bail, please, where do they expect him to get that such amount of money from? My guess is that they were not even expecting him to be able to come up with a bail amount so that he will continue to be in prison. Ubi noted that the bail condition does not serve to ensure that Farotimi will appear in court, but is instead designed to punish him for his activism, isolating him from the very many people he represents. According to him, the requirement for two sureties, one of whom must be a property owner, compounds injustice for Farotimi. Ubi said, in a society where access to land and wealth is grossly unequal, this condition systematically excludes a majority of Nigerians from playing any role in the fight for justice. Property ownership as a criterion for granting bail further entrenches class divisions and ensures that justice remains out of reach for those who need it most. Equally troubling is the court's demand for the surrender of Farotimi's passport. This is not a minor inconvenience, but a gross violation of his fundamental human rights to freedom of movement. By restricting his ability to travel, the court seeks to isolate him, preventing him from raising his voice on international platforms or mobilizing global support for the causes he stands for. This is a direct attack on his ability to advocate for change and a strategic move to stifle his activism beyond the borders of Nigeria. However, the most egregious and chilling aspect of these bail conditions is the prohibition on granting media interviews. This gag order is an explicit infringement on Comrade Farotimi's right to free speech and expression. It is an attempt to silence him, to prevent him from sharing his message with the public, and to curb his influence in the struggle for social justice. This court's decision to impose such a condition is not only an assault on Farotimi's personal freedoms, but also a direct threat to democracy itself. These bail conditions are part of a broader strategy of intimidation and repression aimed at stifling activism across Nigeria. They represent an attempt to send a clear message to all Nigerians: speak out and you will face severe consequences. This dangerous precedent undermines the very foundation of democracy and erodes public trust in judiciary. He said the judiciary should serve as the ultimate defender of justice, equity, and fairness, noting, in this case, it has failed in its duty and aligned itself with the forces of repression. Rather than being a check on governmental power, the court has become an instrument of state control, reinforcing inequality and oppression. The prosecution of Comrade Dele Farotimi is not an isolated event, but part of a disturbing trend in Nigeria, where those who speak out against injustice are harassed, intimidated, and silenced. He said that the growing pattern threatens the freedom of Nigerians and puts the very future of democracy of a country at risk. He said, we must condemn these bail conditions unequivocally. They are unjust, unconstitutional, and unfit for a nation that aspires to uphold the rule of law. We demand an immediate review of these oppressive conditions and call on the judiciary to reaffirm its commitment to justice and fairness for all Nigerians, regardless of their political views. You all, let's have your thoughts and opinions in the comments section. Thank you very much for always listening and watching. This is where I'm going to draw the curtain for now. I will see you all in my next video. Bye for now.